Alright guys, floor 45 of the Illusory Tower. A lot of you guys have been asking for this, and I can totally see why. This is definitely a difficult stage if you don't have Green Gojo. And the reason is, if you don't have Green Gojo, basically the only thing you can do is kind of stall with Mahito. However, this enemy, this boss, it's going to get a lot stronger after 40 turns. So even if you try to stall it, you have to actually make sure you are able to kill him off within 40 turns as well, which is not actually as easy as it sounds because he is actually going to be able to stun you. And basically what that means is within 40 turns, the maximum number of ults you are able to get out from Mahito's domain expansion is going to be only 5 times. If you actually only rely on Mahito's domain expansion to deal 15% of damage based on enemy HP, that's only 75% in total. So you still actually have to make sure your character are highly leveled up so that you can somehow make up the remaining 25% HP damage that you need to do. And that's kind of why you will see I have leveled up my Mahito all the way to ultimate level 9 just to make sure I can actually do enough damage. Now, in terms of all of the skills you can see here, I strongly recommend you level up ultimate for domain expansion to level 9. Like I said, you need to make sure you do enough damage. And likewise, I strongly recommend you have your Gojo at least ultimate level 10 and also buff at level 10. And also preferably Kaito's at level 8 for his ultimate buff as well. The others, it doesn't matter too much. Toge, I do have his skill 2 at level 10. That's just nice to have, I guess. My HP never really got too low, so I'm pretty sure level 8, level 9 would be sufficient as well. Um, Now, in terms of the requirement on Gojo, beta is also obviously going to be linked to how many dupes your Gojo have. So for me, my Gojo is only at 1 dupe, and that's kind of why I need to make sure my skill level are very high. And that's because I actually want to make sure I am able to kill off one of the mob enemy on turn 3. I'll talk about that in a bit. But likewise, if your Gojo is actually very highly dupe, you may be able to slack off slightly on the skill level. And similarly, if your Gojo is actually strong enough, maybe you can actually get away by using Pride rather than non-standard. My Gojo wasn't quite strong enough, and that's kind of why I have to use non-standard. But if you have to use Pride, assuming you can do enough damage, then that should be fine as well. Okay, now in terms of recollection overall, Unity is a must-have. Like, unfortunately, this is an absolute must-have. I have actually tried quite a few times without Unity, for example, by using uh, this recollection instead on Mahito to see whether I can charge up ultimate fast enough to compensate for the lack of boost from Unity. It can work, but the thing is, when you actually play this recollection rather than this taunt one, you're going to end up taking a lot more damage. And overall, I didn't feel like it was quite sustainable because you do have to survive for 40 turns. So that's kind of why I do feel like Unity is a bit of a must here, in order to make sure you can actually reliably get 5 domain expansion within 40 turns. So that's a bit of a must. This one, a wish from past. I don't think it's a must. You can substitute this with Mutual Trust or maybe even Sukuna's Vessel. But basically, the main thing this one is going to do is that to ensure before your Shoko comes into the battle on turn 8, you are actually able to survive long enough. So, healing to me, a Wish from the Past is definitely the best recollection out of all of them. But if you have Mutual Trust or maybe even Sukuna's Vessel as a free to play option, that may work. But, overall, I would suggest a Wish from Past if you do have it. Uh, Non-standard I already kind of talked about. Basically, you can substitute with Pride if your damage is actually high enough. Otherwise, just go with non-standard because you do need to do a lot of damage with Gojo's ult early on. And this one, I feel like it's not a must-have, but it helps you so much in order to make sure all of the enemy single target attack land on Mahito, who can actually tank reliably rather than hitting Toge, etc. So I do feel like this is very, very beneficial. And lastly, this one. Now, this one's a very tricky one. You don't have to play this. You can actually, if you have trouble surviving, then what you can actually do is you use this one instead, which have a permanent damage reduction. However, when I was playing through, what I realized that I don't actually have trouble surviving. I have trouble dealing enough damage, and as a result, I actually want to make sure my Mahito can do as much damage as possible, so that he can actually make up that remaining 25% HP damage that I to do over the 40 turns. And that's why I place this one, which actually have this ability to give me a permanent curse technique increase. If you don't have this leveled up, I think you can also basically use this one, the wasp one, or maybe even this one. It's kind of do the same thing. Basically, you just have a bit of extra damage output when you are doing your attack. It doesn't really matter too much, so you can have a bit of flexibility in terms of the reflection on Shoko. Okay, now in terms of strategy on how to beat this, basically this battle kind of go into two phases. The first phase is when Gojo's alive and you need to survive for 7 turns, whilst also killing off the two mob enemy. And then afterwards is kind of the second half is actually a lot easier. You just need to make sure you always have Mahito able to charge up his ultimate attack in 2 turns as soon as he is able to regain his ultimate gauge. So that's basically the strategy on the two half. Now, on the first half, when within the first 7 turns, what you need to do basically is that um, so basically those two mobs, they have the ability to suck away curse energy. They can hit anyone except for Toge. If any of those two attacks hit on Toge, you need to restore the battle. Just simple as that. Toge curse energy is very important later on, so you can't definitely have to avoid that. If it hits on anyone else, like even Kaito, that's absolutely fine. You can play around with it. So that's basically a tiny bit of RNG on the first 2 turns. And then on turn 3, what you're going to do is that all of your ultimate attack on everyone's going to be ready, and you'll be going out and unleash them on everyone. And basically the way you want to do it is you want to use Toge to aim for one of the mob, and whilst use Mahito to aim for the other one. And the reason is basically with the combination of the ultimate attack from Gojo and also Mahito, you should always be able to kill whoever Mahito is aiming for. So that's always going to be one person dead. Now, as for the other person, if you're lucky enough to get a crit, you're able to kill it straight away as well. If you're not lucky enough to get a crit, what you don't have to do is you want to make sure you kill this as soon as possible. And that's kind of why it's important for your Toge to aim for the one not targeted by Mahito, so that in the turn afterwards, what you'll see me normally do is use skill 1 on every single of my character, just to make sure that I am able to kill off the other mob as soon as possible on turn 4. So that's basically what you need to do. Now on turn 5 is where it gets a bit tricky. So turn 5, you definitely need to stun the enemy with a skill 3 from Toge. And the reason why you want to stun is one, buy yourself a tiny bit of time before Shoko comes in. And the second thing, which is more important, is that if you don't stun the enemy boss, what's going to happen is that I think around turn 10 or turn 11, when the enemy is going to use his second stun move, it's actually going to cut right before you have your domain expansion available on your Mahito. And that basically means that you have a delay of 2 turns on when you can use your second domain expansion. And that's actually very annoying, because when you're actually spanning over 40 turns, what you see at the end of my gameplay is that I literally managed to kill off the boss on turn 39. So if you actually have to drag it out or delay it by an extra 2 turns, you basically give the enemy one extra chance to basically kill you off. And you definitely want to avoid that. And that's kind of why it's very important on turn 5. You try to land a stun on the enemy boss. And then at the same time, depending on who the enemy have been hitting, if they have been hitting, for example, on both of Kaito and Toge, what to do is basically use Kaito's skill 2 on both Kaito and Toge to make sure they both have a bit of damage reduction to prepare for the enemy special attack. If they have only been gaining up on one of the characters, then basically just use Kaito's skill 2 twice on the same character, and basically that once again to ensure you survive. And similarly on turn 6, just before the enemy is about to use special attack, you want to use your AoE help to make sure your whole team is ready to be able to tank the enemy. Because as soon as the enemy uses his special attack, you will be stunned for 2 turns. And during those 2 turns, you won't be able to mitigate any damage any other way. So you have to make sure your HP basically is as full as possible before going into the enemy special attack. And then eventually turn 7, Gojo will leave the battle, Shoko comes on, and now is where it then gets on to the second phase of the battle. Now in the second phase of the battle, as soon as Shoko comes in, everyone else will still be stunned for another turn, but Shoko is able to move. What you want to do is use Shoko to top up the HP on Kaito, and then the turn afterwards, Shoko top up the HP on Toge. Now you don't actually have to worry too much about whether the enemy would end up killing off Kaito or Toge when they're on low HP, because you will, as soon as the recollection is available on Mahito, activate it. Now this gives a 2-turn taunt, and it lasts for 7 turns as well. So that basically means it's no matter when the enemy is going to try to do a single target attack, it's always going to be aiming towards Mahito. And that's kind of why you don't have to worry about Kaito or Toge dying early. And you can basically use Shoko to get everyone's HP back to full. And now it comes get into a stage where you have to keep an eye out always on when Mahito can start regaining his ultimate gauge. Because 2 turns, during his domain expansion, he won't be able to increase his ultimate gauge. And even for 2 turns afterwards, he won't be able to do that. So you always have to make sure you keep an eye out on when you actually are available to increase the ultimate gauge. And you can tell by normally there's a icon right behind beneath Mahito or above his HP bar, which would then basically says, you know, you are not able to regain ultimate gauge. So always keep an eye on that. And basically, as soon as Mahito is actually able to regain ultimate energy, what you want to do is you want to charge up his ultimate energy as soon as possible within 2 turns. You have to do it within 2 turns, otherwise the battle would drag out too long. And the way you can do this is you always want to activate Unity on Kaito, and that's kind of why I said this recollection is like a must have. And then what you can do is either use Toge to use his skill 2 twice. That will basically allow your Mahito to definitely charge up his ultimate attack in those 2 turns. And obviously Mahito will be using his own skill 2 to get a bit of extra ultimate energy as well. However, if you're, for whatever reason, for example, the enemy sucked away your curse energy and Toga is not actually able to use his skill 2 twice in a row, then what you to do is you have to make sure you do a combo attack between 2 other characters other than Mahito, because when you actually do a combo attack, anyone else who's not involved in the combo attack is going to get a slight increase in ultimate energy as well. And that's basically how you can ensure you always charge up Mahito's ultimate in 2 turns as soon as it's available to be charged up, basically. And that's like the only thing you have to keep an eye out in the second half of the battle. Something else I try to do as well, mainly because like my damage is just literally on the borderline, is that if possible, I try to do a combo attack with Mahito's domain expansion whenever possible. And even if I'm not able to do a combo attack, what I normally want to make sure is that I definitely activate my Kaito's ultimate attack before Mahito does his, just so that I can get a bit of extra curse technique increase. So I can once again make sure I do a bit of extra chip damage to try to wear down the remaining 25% HP that I need to somehow make up within the duration of the battle. So that's something I try to do. But if you're, for example, if your Gojo is at a quite high level, therefore you can do a lot of damage early on, or for example, if your Mahito has his either Div or domain expansion at level 10, then maybe you don't need to worry too much about that. But if you're at a similar skill levels to me, then what's very likely you will see is that I actually had to try that like 3 or 4 times, because just so happens that quite a few times I literally got the enemy down to like the last 1 or 2% HP, but just couldn't quite finish it off enough. And that's kind of why I try to do a combo attack whenever possible when I do have Mahito's domain expansion ready to go.
それじゃあ行こっか。明太子。しっかりしろ。
勘弁。
やっちゃっていいの？始めようか。後ろは任せてください。防げ。さて楽しくなってきた。ほらほら、どうしたの？やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。しっかりしろ。シャゲ、手加減はどうしよっかな。防げ。さて楽しくなってきた。ほらほら、どうしたの？やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。俺でも鮭鮭。それじゃおしまいにしよう。今ならいけるね。呪連素術。外れ。鮭。術式判定。赤。領域展開。 自閉円丼か。
行くよ。
いいね。しっかりしろ。鮭
やっちゃっていいの？
始めようか。あっねじれろ。
そう焦るなよ。無意転
集中するんだ。鮭
変。やっちゃっていいの？
始めようか。援護します。動くな。
さて楽しくなってきた。
ほらほら。集中するんだ。鮭
やっちゃっていいの？
始めようか。邪魔はさせない。ねじれろ。
そう焦るなよ。
ちょっといじっちゃおうか。今もか。
やっちゃって。
何これ。
そう焦るなよ。
用事を。
じゃあと頑張って
私が
ね。
出てきちゃまずいだろ。ほどほどに頑張るか。
何これ。
気持ち悪い。
ほら直してやる。
今なら俺でも。鮭
ほどほどに頑張るか。
どうしようかな。皆様前に集中を。防げ。ほらほら。どうしたの。
ほら直してやる。
やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。今なら俺でも。鮭
ほどほどに頑張るか。
どうしよっかな。呪連素術。外れ。落ち着け。鮭ほらほら。どうしたの。
直してやる。
やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。しっかりしろ。鮭
さーて狩猟の。
今ならいけるね。防げ。あっ
ほら直してやる。
領域展開。自閉円丼か。何これ。
気持ち悪い。
何これ。しっかりしろ。鮭
さーて狩猟の時
どうしようかな。皆様前に集中を。防げ。
ほら直してやる。
無意転
今なら俺で。
今度
さ
どうしようかな。呪連素術。
ーてあんまり増やすな。私がしない
落ち着け。
と仕方ない。
ねじれろ。ほらほら。しっかりしろ。鮭
ま死にたくはないしね。
どうしよっかな。後ろは任せてください。防げ。
はい来た。
ほらほら。
飲み
何これ。
気持ち悪い。
飲み
何これ。
気持ち悪い。
しっかりしろ。鮭
ほどほどに頑張るか。
始めようか。後ろは任せてください。防げ。ほらほら。どうしたの。
ほら直してやる。
やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。今なら俺でも。鮭
ほどほどに頑張るか。
始めようか。防げ。ほらほら。どうしたの。
ほら直してやる。
やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。今なら俺でも。鮭
さーて狩猟の時間だ。
今ならいけるね。 素術領域展開自閉円頓化落ち着けいいね防げ
ほら直してやる。
何これ
緊張
何これ
緊張
しっかりしろ鮭
さて治療の
始めようか皆さんは前に集中を防げ
ほら直してやる。
いじっちゃおうか集中するんだ鮭
さて治療の時間だ。
始めようかねえしろ
ほら
ほら
直してやる。
ほら今なら俺でも鮭どうしよっかな主連素術
あんまり増やすな。私が死ぬ仕方ない。
防げほらほらさっきの何これ
緊張
さっきの何これ
緊張
しっかりしろ鮭
ほどほどに頑張るか。
どうしようかな後ろは任せてください防げほらほらどうしたの
ほら直してやる。
やっぱりこっちじゃない今なら俺でも鮭
ほどほどに頑張るか。
始めようか主連素術外れ鮭ほらほらどうしたの
直してやる。
やっぱりこっちじゃないとね集中するんだ鮭
ほどほどに頑張るか。
今ならいけるね防げ
ほら直してやる。
領域展開自閉円頓化すごい相手が隙を見せてます鮭
さて治療の時間だ。
始めようかあっねえしろちょっといじっちゃおうか相手が隙を見せてます昆布
さて
どうしよっかな後ろは任せてください防げ無意点々今なら俺でも鮭
さて治療の時間だ。
どうしよっかな防げ
ほら直
ちょっと
してやる。
いじっちゃおうか今さ何これ
緊張
今さ何これ今なら俺でも鮭
さて治療の時間。
始めようか後ろは任せてください防げほらほらどうしたの
ほら直してやる。
やっぱりこっちじゃない今なら俺でも鮭
さて治療の
どうしよっかな主連素術
あんまり増やすな。私が死ぬ
落ち着け
仕方ない。
どうしたの？やっぱりこっちじゃないとね。しっかりしろ。鮭鮭。
ま、死にたくはないし。
今ならいけるね。あっハゼル領域展開自閉円丼か。明太子いいね。ま、こんなもんか。